in the NFL right now. Seattle Seahawks should be outside his door picketing 24/7, yelling at him, get back to your team, grow a set of balls, and be a man. Like, everything he's doing is the opposite of being a man. Cam Chancellor, start being a man again. We'd all appreciate it. And then finally, in the Monday night game, we've got the New York Jets at the Indianapolis Colts. Indianapolis Colts are a 6.5-point favorite. Again, they've got injury issues that they're dealing with as well. Their defense underperformed last week. Their O-line underperformed. Andre Johnson looked worthless, as I told everyone he was anyway. That's why Houston got rid of him. Frank Gore looked pretty worthless as well. I told everybody to expect that for the most part. Not entirely, but for the most part. And Jets look kind of good. They got a great new coach, it appears. You don't have to worry about Geno Smith throwing the game away for you if you're a Jets fan, because he's still out from getting his face busted in by a teammate for a couple weeks yet. So you got Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback, who can actually get things done for you. You've got some weapons at wide receiver in Marshall and Decker. You got Chris Ivory in the backfield, who's ran fairly well last week, along with Brian Powell. And an O-line that has good talent, good name recognition on it. Whether they're still, productive or not, I don't know. I'd have to watch more of their games. But so for me, being the home team, coming off a loss, having big expectations, you definitely got to pick the Colts to straight up win this game. However, with all their issues and how good the Jets looked, the 6.5-point spread might be a little too much, where I'm going, I'm splitting that one. I'm going Jets against the spread, Colts to win the game. And then, as far as the Packers-Seahawks go, Packers being a 3.5-point favorite at home, I'm picking Packers all across the board on that one to win the game and to cover the spread. All right, now let's get into other football real quick. College football last week had a lot of close games involving big teams. The majority of them all got won by, the big name team. None of the upsets, too much actually happened. But a lot of really close nail biters involving good teams and perceivedly not so good teams. And the only one that we've really got time to focus on here at all would be the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Now, they were out in Colorado to take on the Colorado State Rams, and Hollywood Higgins is their one and only stud player for the Colorado State Rams. He is the number one wide receiver in the country. Should he be able to have a healthy college football season and do what he did last year, he will be the number one wide receiver taken in the upcoming 2016 draft. He was the third overall ranked receiver last year in the entire country for the Fred Biletnikoff Award, which is the best receiver in all college football award. Fred Biletnikoff, former receiver for the Oakland Raiders back in the 60s and 70s, by the way. Little, football history for you youngins out there. But the only two people who finished ahead of him for that award last year in college football was Amari Cooper, 4th overall pick in the draft, number wide receiver taken, and then Kevin White, 7th overall pick in the draft, 2nd wide receiver taken. Those were the only two wide receivers that anyone in college football thought was better than Hollywood Higgins of Colorado State last year. The consensus best wide receiver in all of college football, that's who the Gophers and their awesome secondary, the biggest strength of this Gophers football team is their secondary, the defense in general, but especially the secondary. There's at least one or two NFL players on this Gopher secondary, at least, and they're going to keep this team in a lot of games, and that's what they've been doing both the first 2 weeks, even though there was a little bit of injury in our secondary this week. So anyway, back to the actual game. Hollywood, the big receiver for Colorado State, he ended up not even playing the game. I want to say he only played the first quarter and then went out with an injury, something along those lines. He wasn't in the second half at all. And then coincidentally, it went to overtime. That's right, the Gophers had an overtime game, and they were ultimately successful. They won the overtime game on a 3-point field goal, as Colorado State started overtime getting the ball, and literally on the first play, they threw a pass, looked like it was caught, fumbled, and recovered by the Gophers. Upon review, it was not caught at all. However, the ball never touched the ground, and it was one of the most amazing defensive lineman heads-up, quick-thinking interceptions that you'll ever see in football, period, let alone in college football, period. 95% of pro football players can't make the interception that our guy did on the D-line for the Gophers. And so then that was the stop of their score. College football rules, you get, possession at the 25-yard line, you get a first down, you get another first down, you score, and then the other team gets the ball, and you keep going at it until there's a winner. But so we held them to 0, and then we advanced the ball all the way down to the goal line, pretty much, and then we kicked a chip shot, game-winning field goal, Ryan Santoso, who missed a really long, challenging field goal earlier in the game, I believe it was in the fourth quarter sometime, that would have ultimately given them the win, in regulation, in hindsight. But he kicked very well for the Gophers. And on offense, Wolodarski, wide receiver Wolodarski, that guy is the MVP, the offensive MVP of the Gophers by far. But ultimately, my take on it is I was more excited about the Gophers football team and optimistic after their loss to TCU than I was against their win last week against Colorado State. The Rams stink, and they've only got one great player, and he didn't even play. They got a new coaching staff. They're nothing. They're just a bunch of nobody nothings who are trying to become something, and good luck to them. I hope they do. I don't wish them, ill will or non-success, but that's not who they are now. And the Gophers, being a team who's, expected to contend for the Western Championship of the Big Ten, they're expected to be one of those 2-3 teams battling for that Western Big Ten title. They look like absolute horse crap. Again, our offense is worthless, and yet everybody loves our head coach Jerry Kill, who has nothing to do with the defense. He's only an offensive guy, and our offense is the only part of our Gophers football team that sucks. It's completely worthless. It's incompetent. We can run the ball from time to time. We've got injury issues on the offensive line, but that doesn't matter. It's college football. The speed and the size and the strength and all that stuff is still pretty much the same from your starters to your backups. And from a learning standpoint, you're not asking them to do that much. Block the guy in front of you. If you don't get him, hit the next guy that you see. Like, it ain't that hard. College blocking schemes are very, very dumbed down, elementary, not challenging. And the type of play calling, the type of offensive style that we have isn't a challenging, type of offense for an offensive lineman either, as a former offensive lineman myself. So just one can only wonder why anybody is giving any, props and respect and faith to Jerry Kill, our head coach. He said straight up, I don't do anything with the defense. The other coaches and coordinators, that's all them. I do nothing with the defense. All I worry about is the offense. In our first 2 games, one of the 2 sides of the ball has played extremely well in both games. That's the defense. One side has played horrible. I mean, absolutely horrible in both games. That's the offense. Seriously, what's up? I mean, I get there's some injuries on the O-line. It makes things a little tougher, but it's not that big of a game changer. The O-line injuries you're dealing with, that's an excuse. You're trying to hide and you're trying to hide your own failures and shortcomings as a head coach of this team. The biggest being, and then we'll move on to other real quick topics, is your quarterback situation with Mitch Leidner. Now, Mitch Leidner is the starting quarterback of the Gophers. He's a home state Minnesota boy. You look at him and he looks like an NFL prospect quarterback. I mean, just when you see him take the field, walking out there, his size and everything. But then you watch just watch the next 3 plays they ask him to run in any given game, and they're asking a guy who's built and has the skill set of a Joe Flacco or a Matthew Stafford or a Peyton Manning to run an offense and play a style that is geared and suited for a Robert Griffin III or a Russell Wilson or a Randall Cunningham. That's what the Gophers are doing. The Gophers wonder, well, why are we struggling on offense? Why is our quarterback struggling? Why doesn't any of this work? It's because you have a quarterback that's like Peyton Manning in skill set and in strengths and weaknesses. And the offense and play calling that you're running is a freaking read option requiring skill sets similar to Colin Kaepernick and Russell Wilson. and RG3 and Randall Cunningham and these guys. So you're asking Peyton Manning to be Randall Cunningham, and then you're wondering why you're not having any success. All right, so that's that. All right, that's all of football. We'll squeeze everything else in here real quick, and then we gotta get out of here. So a whole lot of balls on fire. This is, I guess you can consider this the meat. Baseball right now, boy, it's actually, you know what? Let's save baseball yet. Real quick, let's go to the big tennis championship that happened this last weekend. So in the semifinals, women were supposed to play on Thursday. Roberta Vinci, unseeded, unranked, taking on the number one female tennis player of all time, Serena Williams, going for the calendar Grand Slam. She hasn't lost at the U.S. Open in over 3 years. She's won the last 4 majors in a row. She's just going for the calendar Grand Slam is all, which hasn't been done since 1988 with Steffi Graf, going up against unseeded Roberta Vinci, who is all of like 5'6", 104 pounds. I mean, like, just this short, scrawny, sickly, third world country looking type of person. No offense, Roberta, because I love Roberta, okay? But you've got that, unseeded, going up against Serena. Everybody, myself, Serena, even Roberta, admittedly, one of the things I love about Roberta, admittedly said, I never, ever, once, when I woke up this morning, believed that I could win, thought I could win, expected to win. None of that. I never once thought that I could win this match. But lo and behold, that's what happened. Roberta Vinci, unseeded, unknown, 30-something, ends the dream of Serena Williams. And if you watched that tennis match, it was so entertaining. Serena, first set, dominated, won like 6-2, something like that. Second set, Vinci, just scrappy, crafty, pulling out every shot and just going, okay, I'm not going to go for winners. I'm going to make you beat me. I'm just going to play tennis and have fun and put the ball in play and play the smartest shot for the situation. And, that's the only reason I'm a pro to begin with, is because I can do every shot. That's the only reason I got this far. I have no speed. I have no strength. None of that. Like, I can hit every shot. I took the time to learn how to play. That's all I got. But then, second set, she ended up winning. I want to say it was like 6-4, something like that. And holy moly, just throughout that whole second set, like, it was painful just watching the wheels come off Serena. Not even really from a physical playing standpoint, from a mental standpoint. I don't recall the last time I've ever seen a professional athlete lose their composure and just completely self-destruct, implode, not even give themselves a chance to win, beat themselves more than Serena did. And so, lo and behold, Roberta Vinci won the second and third sets in upset for the ages in tennis history, and beat Serena Williams to advance to her first ever major finals. She took on now Roberta Vinci is from Italy, and the number 2 seed on the women's side is also from Italy, and she did win her semifinal match and advance to the finals. So you had an all-Italian, all over the age of 30 women's U.S. Open championship in tennis, which, good luck ever seeing that happen ever again. All those things come together. Excuse me, my bad. The other one who advanced to the finals was actually also a huge upset. It was not the number 2 seed. I knew we had Serena the number 1 seed and then Halep the number 2 seed. And it looked like that was for sure going to be the finals, and it'd be great. Vinci upset Serena after the rain delay, which pushed their game to Friday instead of Thursday. And it was actually Panetta, 26-seeded Panetta, to beat number 2 seed Halep. And then in the finals, it was 26-seeded Panetta over the unseeded Vinci, who everyone was rooting for after beating Serena, I think, to end your U.S. Open women's tournament there. And then on the men's side, to no one's surprise, in the semifinals, you had Djokovic just destroy Cilic 6-0, 6-1, 6-2 to advance to the finals. And similarly, you had Federer very easily handle Wawrinka, who was the 5 seed, 6-4, 6-3, 6-1, I expected Wawrinka to at least win